And a little while later, at the Major Family Farm, the nasturtium turret all planted up. And the tomatoes have come out of the greenhouse and been planted into their spots along with everything else. And the plastic is down off of the walls. Several vegetable sales have already gone on, and things have sprung up to this size. So now it's the race to see who's going to take the last of these home and where they will go before the planting and sprouting season is over, and they move on to the care, watering, picking, maintaining. Big Romans. You can see they're already maxing out their 4x4s, and then the next waves of creatures are on their way. Open air so it stays cool. So all different peppers. Peppers. And then several farm loads of tomatoes have already gone out. Big, healthy, beautiful things for sure. So a bunch of these will be going back to my property. The Greens got a whole little nursery. They are a licensed nursery here now. That's one of the things that is new this season. And then we will go through the hanging gardens. Truly hanging gardens. To the outside, we'll just step through one of the windows. And here we use plastic for, it's just been a long-standing tradition. We use the plastic as many times as possible, and it keeps from using excess water. So it's actually a solution that ends up being more green than not. So I've always said you can cover it with anything, plastic, rock, anything, you know, bark, organics, but just don't have raw dirt that's going to sit there and evaporate water out and then cause the wet areas around your plant to wick out into the dry and then evaporate away. This means that when the water goes in, it sits there and holds the moisture for as long as possible, incredible amounts of time. And then for the plants like tomatoes that like to have hot roots, you can actually start a little bit earlier that way. The elderberries have their leaves on them, and they're all about to bloom out. And the cherry trees in full bloom. The apple trees in full bloom. This is the beginning of the flower arch this year. Really good year for fruit in all of the areas where I've been, in my area, this area. And so this is usually an edible arch, so everything planted in here will be something that can go in or around food, but flowers. And you'll see the whole thing go off, but here's the beginning of it. And new this year is that this was usually a wall here, and then a ditch that had been there, since the beginning of the property basically, because me and my dad and sister had built this up with so much soil, had brought in just massive, we worked for a soil moving company basically, and so all the best soil we brought home and filled in an area like 3 foot deep over the entire area, over what was already a pre-existing farm stand. But this year went even farther, and we're filling in the ditch and pushing all the way to the fence line. That's actually a fence line there, and then the other fence line is just beyond that hoop house there. So this is a long skinny property, and the vegetable and food production part actually ends right over there past the greenhouse. In all, it's about 1.5 acre property. And so this huge area that you're seeing here is happening on, oh, a third of an acre or something. Both rows of these fruit trees, everything that you're seeing. So don't think that you need a 20-acre farm to have a farm. Ends up being hard to keep up just with this size. I know that when you haven't dealt with acreage, it's hard to judge what things are, so the end of the garden is literally right there at the berry row. So we have, looks like eggplants, peppers, tomatoes. And so this year, looks like we're planting crossways as opposed to long ways. By doing that and then moving around the type of crops, that not only make sure that you're not stripping the soil out, you're doing your crop rotations, but they do eggplant, peppers, tomatoes alternating like that, so that if you have a blight, a problem, an issue of any sort, it won't wipe out your whole monocrop. So it's a way to not monocrop but still plant a lot of the same thing, because then the pattern will repeat again and have more peppers, all of that. And for an insect, for a small size thing, the distance between that pepper and the next pepper over through a huge row of tomatoes sometimes is enough to just, you know, keep them in one area. And then of course the companion planting parts of it. Plants do like to mix up. And then she's incorporating a lot of flowers. So these are all flowers on the edge, which of course bring in lots of pollinators and positive insects. Row of sunflowers here in the front. And the larger creatures like gophers get confused if you move your plots around and stuff. And then these drip systems can all get lifted up and set back down every year. And over here underneath the olives that my grandfather actually planted, and the mulberry that's just budding out. This is a big black mulberry. It's big for a black mulberry. That's its base in there. I think you can see. It's pretty massive. And yeah, it comes all the way out to here and just dumps huge berries. And then this is netted over so that the birds don't come down and peck at the greens, and you can see just how lush it is. So you have red chards and yellow chards and Swiss chards of every flavor. Massive amounts of dirt, compost brought in this year to cover all walkways and stuff, so that the weeds are buried and anything that comes through will be super lush but also weak and easy to pull. And it looks like here we're going from the greens down into, looks like beets, radishes, different types of kale, ragged jack. These are all kales in the back. That's how massive that is. I mean, these are big patches. Keep walking down here. Under the mulberry. Just keeping myself in shot for relativity size. About out in the middle. There's another big black mulberry here. They have the rounder leaves, then the whites, and then just pushing to the edges of the property all the way around. Big old dreamy weepy willows. Cherry tree. Looks like it set a lot of fruit this year. Sometimes the cherries are fickle. But they're all throughout. And tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. Kidland. That's the end of the property there. And this is big wires and stuff to hold up the hops. And then that's all other properties with vineyards. Getting surrounded by the vineyards these days. And yeah, that is the update.